to Real Talk, Real People. My name is Sophie Juliet Seaton, and I'm the CEO of Service Excellence Training and Development. Today, I'm very excited to have one of the most amazing people in my network and a great guest speaker in Real Talk, Real People, Fiby Francis. First of all, before introducing you, Fiby, thank you very much for joining Real Talk, Real People. It's a pleasure having you here. Who is Fiby Francis, actually? Now, not only is he an expert in the field of banking, but within banking, an expert in the field of people development and organizational development. And actually, by knowing your story a little bit and knowing how your career progressed over the last 20 plus years, if I may say that, you started your banking career as a frontliner, moved to the middle, so to say, and today you are the top leader in the organizational development branch and area.
Thank you, Sophie. That's it. I don't know whether I deserve that kind of introduction. So thank you for that. So I work for Emirates Institute for Banking and Financial Studies. Actually, I came to UAE in 2008, and I was with Emirates Institute for Banking from 2008 to 2014, and then had an opportunity to work with a bank in UAE. So my role is considered as a lead in the leadership department, supporting the organization in collaborative initiatives, exploring new, what we call paths, which the institute can take forward, support the directors and other senior members in the organization.
You not only design, but you also focus on HR, organizational development. As you mentioned, you facilitate yourself. You are a coach, you are an expert in training. So it's even more exciting for me to be speaking with you today about our topic, change process, because we share similar mindsets. And I think coming from two different backgrounds, hospitality and team dynamics, and you coming from the financial background and with the experience that you had over the years, I think there's a lot that listeners to our podcast, Real Talk, Real People, can take from our conversation today.
Great to be here with you,
Great,
Sophie.
great.
Yeah, the time flies faster.
Time flies fast. Yeah, thank you, Fiby. It's been 3 years since we met and had one or the other initiative with Service Excellence in your bank back then. But today we meet online, and for our meeting, for our conversation, that's a big change. And that's why I'm so excited to talk to you about change process, get to know a little bit about your insights of what do you think change is, how do we handle it, and how can we actually incorporate change positively. When I remember talking about change management in a couple of my sessions as well, and the first thing I always ask people is not only what is change, which I'm going to ask you in a second, but when does change happen? Monday morning, 9 o'clock, or Saturday afternoon? And the lesson actually that I want to give away in the beginning is that change happens anytime, everywhere, to anyone, and that we have to anticipate change. So I'm really curious to find out, what is change for you, Fiby? Like, what does it mean to you?
I understand that change is happening each and every moment. Each interactions lead to change. And maybe, I'm very much attracted by the thought process of Edgar Schein, a professor emeritus of MIT. And one of the message he conveys is, we are intervening each time in change. We are in the change. So your presence can impact. Your words can impact. Everything impacts those around you and how you. So, for example, when I'm sending an email message, it triggers thoughts in the other party who is receiving it. So when you send me a message, Fiby, can we connect? It triggers thoughts in me, and it leads to some action. And again, it is something related to the communication part. So change, how I am conveying the change process, how I am communicating it to the audience. There is a simple phrase which I just want to give. It is called AIR, A-I-R. So A is action. What action are you taking? So I'm sending a message. It is an action. It is reaching someone. Now, when it reaches someone, it triggers an impact. So, like as you mentioned in LinkedIn, you connected with me. So you send a message, it creates an what we call excitement in me, an impact in me, and you know that is leading to the next a reaction. You know, so action, impact, and reaction. So change is wonderful, and if we can manage my action, how it is impacting landing on the other party, and see what reaction it may trigger, leads to whether the change process is smooth, rough, or collapsing.
That's amazing. I love this. It's really nice to see that we're again thinking aligned, because one of the taglines in our workshops in our program is actually every action is followed by a reaction, right? And when I compare the workshop delivery and this message that I share in my programs, and I link it to your idea of change process, then actually it makes me think, shouldn't we be thinking backwards? Shouldn't we be thinking of what reaction do we want to have? Do we want to see? What results do we want to have impacted? And then think of which actions will lead us possibly there, right? So I think the AIR acronym is something that I will already take from this podcast session, and I think the network can thrive on that acronym as well. Now, if that's your approach, and if that's your thought process about how to positively anticipate change and how to work with it, now you are in an organization, you have worked for many leading banking organizations in the past. Is your message to people who are in the same level, to the entire organization, when you say, like, how can we collaborate in the future by still driving change, and driving change obviously in a positive way?
Many leaders came and sometimes say, my request is, I don't know as a leader what to do, but do you have any ideas? Do you have any concerns? So how those people in position of power, because that is critical, you know, the group dynamics which we play. If we don't request, people don't come to you. So that request aspect. So it is not only the reaction, how you request these change initiatives is also critical in organizations.
Okay, perfect. So again, it's a two-way street, right? Again, I mean, in order to facilitate change positively, you need to communicate. And so the change process in terms of communication really just follows the simple communication model that we all know by Schultz von Thun and other leading, you know, theory experts. Sender, receiver, decoding, encoding the message, but also knowing when to ask. But ask for us always stood for having the right attitude, having the right skills, and having the right knowledge of when to ask, whom to ask, and the how is really important, right? And you said in terms of leadership skills, and I think that is regardless of which industry we are talking about, right? So we have here the banking expert and the customer service experience expert, but we also have healthcare industries that now have no other way but to cope with change and manage that positively, because lives are impacted. Let alone the travel industry. Traveling today is very different than it was 2 years ago. All of a sudden, traveling with a free mind and being healthy is becoming a luxury, where before traveling was just, you know, something that we do, and we choose a nice destination, we go for a family holiday or on a leadership retreat with our executive team. So and now it's becoming this whole different mind shift again, maybe letting us change the way we think and appreciate things that were so normal to us 2 years ago compared to now. Talking about acronyms as AIR and ASK, which I will also capture again in our write-up from the podcast. Now, what is your final advice? What is something that you want to share with the network of how can we become a positive change maker in the future? What can every individual do, maybe on a personal level, but also and I think that's much more of interest for the crowd to see on a professional level, how can we become a positive change maker?
Yeah, One final story which I like to share is from which I read in the book called Humble Enquiry by Edgar Schein. Again, I like that concept of humble enquiry, and in which Edgar Schein is sharing about, you know, a surgeon in a hospital, a nurse, and a junior doctor, and they are doing a small procedure, surgical procedure, and you know, the nurse is observing something not normal to be done, and because of the hierarchy challenges in that work environment, they find it difficult to convey. And the surgeon is, junior surgeon is an Asian origin man, and the senior surgeon is from UK. You know, the cross-cultural scenarios we are going to face. And what he's trying to convey is, if there is an humble inquiry approach where the leader in that group is reaching out to the team and asking, please let me know if I'm making a mistake. Please guide me. So that I think will definitely help the team to come out with areas of improvement, which will be easily recognized, and moving forward will impact the change process for a positive outcome. So that's what I like to share at this closing.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. So continuous improvement process, right? And that's actually what change process is, because as we said in the beginning, change is happening always, all the time, and how it's impacted, it's on us. It's the air that we live, breathe, and share. So it's the action, the impact, and the request, as you said. That request again comes from two sides. I mean, it is a two-way communication street. We have to have the right ask, so attitude, skills, and knowledge. And we also have to understand that hierarchies are there maybe as an organizational grid or as a structure to hold on to, if there is such a thing as a hierarchy in an organization. However, and that's something I got out from your last story, if the leadership approach focuses on trust and also has a certain vulnerability, where the leader says, you know what, if I'm doing something wrong, please let me know, because I can only learn from your perception and from your insights, then it's easier for us to move forward, to collaborate. And
like it all leads to communication. It all leads because we have to be extremely careful about power dynamics in organization, and you know, sometimes subordinates will be hesitant to come to you. So that's where, you know, the leaders should come and request what kind of support I need to provide to ensure that we have a beautiful outcome. So you know, if from a leadership perspective, sometimes they are not aware of this power dynamics, and sometimes people, you might have heard, I have an open office, why people are not coming? People will not come until and unless they feel that, okay, there is someone who is willing to listen to me. And that is where that humble inquiry come to play.
Absolutely. Thanks, Fiby. Now, it's all about people still, right? And this is why this podcast series is also called Real Talk, Real People, because I believe that anyone in their certain role, forget hierarchies, forget leadership roles or whatsoever, can be a leader for themselves. And that everybody has a certain experience that they want to share, right? So
that's true.
Fiby, I'm so excited to have the opportunity to record this wonderful topic about a podcast about change process with you today. Before I close, I just want to thank you very much for your time. I also want to thank our network or mutual networks for the time that they spend listening to our video podcast. And I'm very excited to have you on very soon once again, and very excited to share the future lineup of Real Talk, Real People by Service Excellence. Thank you very much, Fiby, for your time.
Thank you, Sophie, for the invitation. It is an honor and it is a privilege, and I loved this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.